Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. I am Ronaldo McKenzie, and today we continue with Street Vibes, Pulse of the Street, where we find out the feelings and the mood and the positions of Americans on various political, social, and current issues, and probably they share their personal stories. But today, I want to lift up this particular story because recently, as we get into the issue, as we get into Street Vibe, and today we actually took to the street and interviewed about 12 individuals randomly, and asked them some questions about this $33 billion. So this particular Neoliberal Round podcast, we're looking at this particular story. Biden asked Congress for $33 billion in new Ukraine aid and power to seize Russian oligarchs' assets. So according to the story that we obtained from the Los Angeles Times today, it says that President Biden asked Congress on Thursday for another $33 billion to support Ukraine in its defense from Russia's invasion and for the authority to make it easier to seize and sell the assets of Russian oligarchs, vowing anew that the U.S. was committed to ensuring Ukraine's victory in a war likely to drag on for months. The funding request, which earmarks $20 billion for military assistance, $8.5 billion in economic assistance to help Ukraine's government continue to function, and $3 billion in humanitarian aid, is what the U.S. believes will be necessary over the next 5 months as the war becomes a protracted conflict. According to Mr. Biden, he says this: "We need this bill to support Ukraine in its fight for freedom," Biden said during a speech from the White House. "The cost of this fight is not cheap, but caving to aggression is more costly." And that was President Biden. And while at the same time, there is another story in the news that we got from Fox News, dated Wednesday, April 27, 2022. Thune GOP senators push bill to ban Biden from canceling student debt as President mulls executive action. So President Biden is considering a bill, and actually Biden has promised an answer on student loan debt relief soon. But Republicans are coming up with a strategy or coming up with a bill to ban Biden from canceling student debt as he mulls about an executive action that is geared towards doing so. Now, according to the story, which was first on Fox, it says Senate Minority Whip John Thune and a group of GOP senators are introducing a bill to ban President Biden from canceling student loan debt, amid news that Biden is considering doing just that. The bill would also limit how long the administration can pause student debt payments and add congressional oversight to the process. People with income above 400% the poverty line would be exempt from any pause. As Americans continue to return to the workforce more than 2 years since the pandemic began, it is time for borrowers to resume repayment of student debt obligation. That's according to Thune. He said in a statement. He continues by saying that taxpayers and working families should not be responsible for continuing to bear the costs associated with this suspension of repayment. Now, I will be interviewing John Anthony Castro, the 2024 U.S. presidential candidate, on Monday on the Neoliberal Round. But he released a statement on his Twitter, and he said this. He says, "I worked my ass off and paid off $325,000 in student loans in 4 years. But guess what? I'm the exception, not the norm. I wouldn't wish that stress on anyone else. We need to forgive student loan debt. We shouldn't debt enslave people who simply want an education." And of course, I responded to Mr. Castro saying that I'm looking forward to the interview on Monday so we can explore this some more. But I said to him that you're spot on, speaking to those who are still under the burden of student loans, while getting salaries that aren't reflective of the degree or different from non-degree jobs. And let me tell you why I say this. Let me tell you, especially as it relates to child youth services, and I have worked as a case manager within child youth services, as a child youth services specialist. And there are different levels in case management. And I remember at one point, case managers were getting probably about somewhere up to $42,000 a year under the new under the new community umbrella agency program that DHS created when they were no longer focusing on case management, so to speak, but they outsourced it to community umbrella agency organizations. And these organizations were hiring case managers, requiring them to have umpteen trainings, and they must have several hours of trainings, go to community agency management trainings and get certification. And they have to have bachelor's or master's degrees, and of course, so on and so forth. While case aides, which is under case managers, they would get $38,000. Now, what's the difference between $38,000 and $42,000? The case manager must have 14 to 40 cases, and must get $42,000 a year. Yes, okay, and must have a degree, a master's degree. And oftentimes the degree that these people have, it is subsidized by loans, that student loan. They get student loan, and they are repaying student loan debt. But they're getting $42,000 a year, while the case aide is getting $38,000 a year. The case aide does, and some of these other jobs are they don't require degrees. But when you compare when the case manager who has to pay back student loan, $400, $500, $600 a month, and you compare that case manager gets less than non-degree jobs. When you sit down and do the math, and there's several other discussions that we can have, but let us get back to this discussion, because I talk about, he is spot on, and I said to him that I'm looking forward to having this discussion. But beyond this particular discussion is this wider discussion that we are having. And I was actually able to take to the streets and had several interviews with several individuals in Philadelphia, around Philadelphia, asking them their position. Because on April 14th, 2022, I published a blog in ReinaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com entitled Americans on the War. Some are against the huge Ukraine relief given the U.S. own problems with poverty and lack. And in the article, or in the blog, I said, some Americans, especially African Americans in Philadelphia, whose city is beset by rising poverty, falling incomes and homelessness among younger peoples, and are reeling from a drug epidemic that destroyed towns like the one shown in the cover image, Kensington, Philadelphia, suffering from deindustrialization, are against this $12.1 billion package, because they say, what about poor peoples here in this country, in the US? They say it's too much. And that's from several conversations I've had among 20 city residents, especially African American males, 25 and older in Philadelphia. But they can't do without Russian products and businesses for its business, they say. They have desires that must be fulfilled. However, these arguments contradict themselves. They make a moral argument and then make an amoral one based on greed. But that's not true, because I was able to, I took to the streets today, and I continue to hear people having conversations, all on their porches, within businesses, at the boardroom, at the dinner table, at churches, at various groups, talking about their expressing their views within these family groups as it relates to their position on how the US is planning on supporting the war. And we've just heard of another $33 billion that President Biden is asking. So I actually took to the street today, and got between yesterday and today, and got the opinions of several individuals on some short recordings that I have for you, and you will get a chance to hear what Americans in some cities are saying as it relates to President Biden asking for another $33 billion. But just so you know, just remember that on the heels of this is the news that's coming from the White House. But not only is Biden thinking about supporting Ukraine and efforts overseas, but he's also thinking about Americans here who are dealing with student loan debt, and hundreds of thousands of Americans are dealing with student loan debt. And many of them and many young people, especially black and brown people who depend on student loan, many of them went, and I interviewed a young man on this particular show as well, who said that he dropped out of Temple because he did not want the issue of debt, of student loan debt, to be dangling over him. So he would rather leave and join the military. And probably for some people, that is what the strategy is. If people know that their debt is forgiven, then they will not be available to do the things that we want them to do in society. Say, for example, fight a war, knowing that we'll get more individuals to do so. But these are some of the conversations we're having, and we want to hear what people are saying on the ground. But this issue of student loan debt is a major issue, and I'm happy that we're having this kind of conversation as an academic, as someone who is very involved in tertiary level education, both as a teacher and as a student. So this is very important. So sit back, listen to the discussions that we are having as we took to the street today, and there were several conversations, about 12 or 13 different conversations or different takes that we had today. We'll be right back after these messages.
Look, number one of the first thing we did was reform the system that was in place that didn't work for anybody, that allowed people to write off debt if they engaged in public service. We have almost 1,785,000, don't hold me the exact number, I'll get the number, 700 and some thousand have had debt forgiven, their whole debt forgiven because of their working in either as teachers or other means by which they qualified. And we continue to make that easier. Secondly, I am considering dealing with some debt reduction. I am not considering $50,000 debt reduction, but I'm in the process of taking a hard look at whether or not there will be additional debt forgiveness, and I'll have an answer on that in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
That was President Joe Biden on PBS, courtesy of PBS, talking about the student loan debt relief.
In the past 2 months, Russia launched its brutal attack and has moved weapons and equipment to Ukraine. We've moved weapons and equipment to Ukraine in record speed. Thanks to the aid we provided, Russian forces have been forced to retreat from Kyiv. Doesn't mean they're not going to try to come back, but they've retreated thus far. We've sent thousands of anti-armor, anti-missiles, helicopters, drones, grenade launchers, machine guns, rifles, radar systems, more than 50 million rounds of ammunition. The United States alone has provided 10 anti-armor systems for every Russian tank that is in Ukraine, 10 to 1. We're providing Ukraine significant, timely intelligence to help them defend themselves against the Russian onslaught. And we're facilitating a significant flow of weapons and systems to Ukraine from our allies and partners around the world, including tanks, artillery, and other weapons. That support is moving with unprecedented speed. Much of the new equipment we've announced in the past 2 weeks has already gotten to Ukraine, where it can be put to direct use on the battlefield. However, we've almost exhausted what we call, the fancy phrase, the drawdown authority that Congress authorized for Ukraine in a bipartisan spending bill last month. Basically, we're out of money. And so that's why today, in order to sustain Ukraine as it continues to fight, I'm sending Congress a supplemental budget request. It's going to keep weapons and ammunition flowing without interruption to the brave Ukrainian fighters and continue delivering economic and humanitarian assistance to the Ukrainian people. This so-called supplemental funding addresses the needs of the Ukrainian military during the critical weeks and months ahead. And it begins the transition to longer-term security assistance that's going to help Ukraine deter and continue to defend against Russian aggression.
And that is President Biden via the White House a couple of days ago regarding this need for the $33 billion, is that the funding that they had originally asked for and got is exhausted. They have exhausted the funding that they have. And now they're asking for more money. And they're saying that the funds that they have and he made a case why they need more, because the funds that they have received is doing damage to Russia. It is doing damage to Russia. However, it's dragging out the war as we know it. And he said because they have exhausted the funds, they need this $33 billion. American people are saying, well, we exhausted the funds that you gave us, the stimulus package. And we need it in order to continue to fend off the economic challenges of COVID, which continues to beset us, and several other challenges. But of course, at the same time, he's also promoting a bill that would also cushion some of the effects, such as forgiving some of the student loan debt. But how many people are affected by that, by student loans? What about other Americans? A tonload of other Americans are not affected by that, who still have other issues to deal with. But these are some of the issues that some of the Americans probably will raise as we explore several different Americans, men and women, and their positions on the issue. We'll be right back after these messages. My name is Ronaldo McKenzie. I do a podcast. It's called the Neoliberal Round Podcast. And I'm about to do a story on Americans' view on the war. And particularly, Biden is about to give another $33 million. Is about to ask for another $33 million to give to Ukraine, in addition to the $12 billion that they have already given. What are your views and feelings on that?
Well, I think that 33 should be right here in the United States with the homeless.
Yes.
The jobless.
Yes.
The food shortage. The
Yes.
gouging of food.
Yes.
The gouging of the gas. I mean, we Americans always out there to help other countries.
Yes.
But who helping us?
Right.
We need help.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
And it's good to be helped, but say, if you go over there,
Yes.
what kind of help you gonna get?
Uh,
The Mexican come here. They coming to Korean. They coming here now, and they already got a house.
Yes.
And you got people on the street
Right.
living in subways.
So you think that we shouldn't give any more money? We should help the homeless and give it to projects and programs
right
here. I'm going to be interviewing John Anthony Castro. He's one of the U.S. presidential candidates next week, Monday, on my show. Do you have a question for him?
Yeah, how come we can never get help? That's my question.
What's the question?
How come we can never get help?
How come we can never get help? And what
We
kind of
can
help?
never-
You
That's
think?
what I'm just
All
saying.
right.
Homeless,
Let's-
housing,
Yes.
jobs, everything.
Okay.
How come we don't
Okay.
get it?
All right.
But, like,
Okay.
They come here and they offering a job, a
Yes,
home.
yes.
We go there, we ain't offering. We don't
All
get
right. And what are
nothing.
you, Republican, Democrat, Independent?
I'm Democrat.
Okay, great. But thank you so much
Yeah,
for
that's
your
a
views,
good-
though.
How come
Yes.
Americans always helping different countries,
Right.
but nobody help us?
Okay.
Why
Thank-
do we still have homeless?
Yes.
Why do we still have everything? It's
Thank
just
you so
ridiculous.
much.
It's
Take care.
just- You too. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
man. Hey, Ronaldo from the Neoliberal Round Podcast. I just want to get your opinion. Joe Biden is asking for another $33 billion to give to Ukraine. What do you feel about that? Do you agree with it?
I feel they should definitely give it to Ukraine, but I also feel that if they could give $33 billion to Ukraine, you could pay off all the debt here.
Another 33 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with helping Ukraine. I just don't understand why you can't pay off some of the debts that people owe for the student loans. And if you could do that.
Right, but it's not really him. It's really the Republicans who.
I know. It's Mitch who's stopping this. Like, what do y'all want power for?
Yes.
You don't want to help people.
Need explosives anyway.
Joe Biden is giving Ukraine another $33 billion. They're asking for them to give $33 billion. What do you feel about
What are you
that?
saying?
Joe Biden is asking for another $33 billion to give to Ukraine. What are your feelings about that?
About what?
Joe Biden is asking for another $33 billion to give to Ukraine. What do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
Okay, why you don't like it? Any comments?
Oh no, you got me on audio. No, I ain't.
But
got
you
no
don't
comment.
like it though.
No, hell no.
What? Okay, why? Because of what's going on. You heard what happened? They just rejected this idea.
Because we got homeless people in America. We don't need to be giving all that money to them when we got people starving and homeless in our own country.
Okay.
Do something for our own country first before you spend all that money on a foreign country.
Yes.
You know?
All right. Thank you so much for your views. Hey, I'm Ronaldo from the Neoliberal Round podcast. I just want your view on Biden. He is going to on Biden is asking for another $33 billion to give to Ukraine. What are your views on that?
They really doing it?
Yeah, so he's asking for another 33. Notice I say another 33 billion.
We just
to
gave
help
him
with.
800 million.
Well, no, they gave him like about 12. They gave them about 12 billion or 16 billion already.
No,
I know. What are your views on that?
We're not voting for him next year.
No, but what are you don't?
I'm not voting for him.
Yeah, but what are your
No.
views on it?
I don't agree with it. No.
Why you don't agree?
Too much money.
Too much money.
Yeah, I said it last time.
Well, you did. You actually said that, and we actually wrote an article that was inspired by you, saying that one of the persons I interviewed you and several other Americans who are against this, especially people who live in certain vulnerable communities and so on. So you're one of those persons who are completely opposed to that, given to what's going on in American societies.
You gotta look at it like this: who's gonna do something for us when we go to war? Who's gonna hand over $1 billion for us? No.
All right, there we go. This is the Neoliberal Round podcast, and we are going around in various cities, in streets, and randomly asking individuals about their views of this $33 billion that Mr. Biden is asking to send to Ukraine. Another $33 billion in addition to the 12 to 16 billion that was given already. Biden is asking for another $33 billion to send to Ukraine. What are your views on that? President Biden is asking for another $33 billion. He just, we sent 12 to 16 billion, but now he's asking for another $33 billion to send to Ukraine. What are your views on that?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure whether or not we should.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. That's views. Let me ask some more persons. Hi, how are you guys? I'm Ronaldo. I'm host of the Neoliberal Round podcast, and I'm going to be interviewing one of the presidential candidates next week. And I would like to get the pulse of Philadelphia and various cities as it relates to the war. President Biden has given 12 to 16 billion dollars to Ukraine already, and he's asking for another $33 billion. What are your views?
Is he helping me?
Okay. All right. So that's
got a good point.
All right, and that's what's your point, sir? The same thing.
My point is that I don't know.
Okay, great. And you're like, is he helping you?
I
Okay.
mean, that's just called it is what it is.
Yes.
Why do we have to go for a war that they're
Yes.
we're supposed to be the peacemakers?
Right.
That's all I gotta say on that.
All right.
Putin shouldn't even be in the equation. He's crazy.
Yes. Some Americans said that we should not help them because of
Well,
what.
it's not about not helping
Yes.
them. It's about this. Why is Putin doing that? 'Cause
Right,
he wants
right,
war with
right.
Russia.
Ah.
He wants, and guess what? He's going to sacrifice all that,
Yes.
and he won't get nothing.
Thank
He
you
won't
so
get
much.
nothing.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your views. The Neoliberal Round podcast. All right. We're right here in Philadelphia. We'll be right back after this. Welcome to the Neoliberal Round podcast, and I'm Ronaldo McKenzie. What are your views about Mr. President Biden asking for $33 million to give to Ukraine, another $33 million?
I mean, I think that money can go towards things that we have going on here.
Yes.
But, I mean, I don't know. I really have to think about it because I never, thought about him giving them more money. But I'm quite sure they do need the money and the help.
Yes.
But, I just think that they should focus on more things that's going on in America.
Okay, thank you so much. And you don't mind me asking, are you religious, liberal? What are you?
I'm religious.
Religious?
Yes.
Okay, great. And are you a Democrat, Republican, or what?
Democrat.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. And you don't have to share your name. It's anonymous.
Yes.
But thank you so much for participating in this review. And my podcast will air. This podcast will be airing probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And you can listen to it.
All
okay.
right, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
What is it called again?
The Neoliberal Round podcast. And what about you, sir? Do you mind sharing with me your thoughts?
I'm okay.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Thank you.
Yes, you are welcome. All right, and welcome back. This is the Neoliberal Round podcast, and we are going around asking just to get Americans' temperature and views about the another $33 billion that Mr. Biden is asking to give to Ukraine. What are your views on this, sir?
Well, my view is that I think Ukraine is in need, and I think the American people, our government,
yes,
should help them because they are oppressed by the Russian government.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think definitely that they should be helped by the American government.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoken to several individuals
Yeah.
so far today, and some people think that they shouldn't help them anymore because they've given them so much money already.
These people. I mean, look, they are powerless.
Yes.
You can say they are actually powerless. I mean, we know that Russia is one of the
Yes.
the bigger
Right.
when it comes to weapons and
Yes.
and things like that. So they are undermanned. Yeah.
And what are you? You don't mind me sharing? Are you Democrat, liberal?
I'm a Democrat. Right?
Okay,
All true. Democrat.
Okay, and I will be interviewing John Anthony Castro next week Monday on my show.
Okay,
Do you have a
great.
question for him? He's one of the U.S. presidential candidates. What would you like me to ask him?
Well, what would I like to ask him? Well, I just hope that they don't take away the seniors
Yes.
Medicare and Social Security and things like that. Okay.
All right.
I want them to make sure that seniors get what they.
Yes.
What
And
they
you're a
get.
senior, and you are very
I'm a
concerned
senior,
about
I'm very
that.
concerned about that. That's
Thank you very much, sir, for
my
participating,
friend.
and I
Not a
hope you have a
problem.
great day, man.
You too, my friend.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
Take care.
No problem.
I am Ronaldo McKenzie, and this is the Neoliberal Round podcast, and I'm doing this interview asking random individuals about their position on this Ukraine war. So President Biden and the president and the U.S. provided about $16 billion to Ukraine, but now Biden is asking for another $33 billion. So I want to ask, what's your opinion on it?
On the expenditure of war?
The 33 billion. Should we give it to him? Should he get the $33 billion to give to Ukraine?
I mean, that's such like a big topic.
Yes.
It's hard for me to come to a conclusion. I think that, I don't know, man. I just think in general that if you're going to spend that much money,
Yes.
it should be on trying to end the war
Mm.
if possible. I'd rather you pay that money to Russia to leave Ukraine.
Okay. Well,
or
I
just
mean,
leave Ukraine, a territory that's not, connected
Yes,
to either
yes.
Russia or America. If you're going to spend that much money, make that investment. On
yes.
the war.
Mhm.
You know that's not going to stop the war.
Yes.
Right now, maybe it could give Ukraine the potential
Yeah.
fighting capability. I mean, they're doing pretty good,
Yes,
but their
yes,
city,
yes.
their country's destroyed. though.
Decimated right now.
You know?
Yes. No, I will be interviewing Mr. Castro next week, Monday. If you have a question for one of the U.S. presidential candidates, what question would it be?
It would be, how important is peace? How do you prioritize it politically?
Oh, wow. That is deep. That is deep. How important is peace, and how do you prioritize it politically? That's a question for you, Mr. Castro, when we meet on Monday. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
I
man.
appreciate you for participating. And please listen and share it with your friends. That's the Neoliberal Round podcast is on any podcast stream that you get podcasts. Okay.
Funny, man. I study politics. You just reminded me of
you study politics. And by the way, are you Democrat, Republican? What are you?
I'm 32. When I was 21,
wow, you look 19.
Time. Well, it's the grace of God.
Yes.
When I was 22 when it was Obama time, 18.
Yeah.
So I was Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually registered as an independent. I believe the last time Hillary Clinton kind of confused me. I didn't really understand the national politics, and their Clinton Foundation kind of threw me off.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much.
I don't know. I'm like neither. None of them kind of really represent. I really do. But I would have voted for who was the person going up against Hillary Clinton? Bernie. I would have.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie.
Everybody I talk to in Philadelphia they love Bernie. All right. Thank you so much. Brother, it was Ronaldo McKenzie. And yes, and check me out. That's my podcast, my card with all my stuff. But check me out, and I'm going to be having a report about this issue. Some Americans are in between, some are for, some are against. All right.
Man. You definitely just inspired me.
Yes. Keep in touch. We'll talk. Yes. Here at the Neoliberal Round, I must say, I have a personal opinion as it relates to this $33 billion, because, nothing is wrong with giving money to Ukrainians to help for humanitarian help and military aid and so on, but you look at what just happened recently. I think President Biden also made a request for student loan debt relief, and Republicans have shot it down, but yet still they are open to the possibility of providing huge tax cuts or more tax cuts to corporations that have benefited from stimulus relief. Okay, when the economy is being ravished and poor people are being affected by COVID and so on, you have huge corporations benefiting from that. But yet still, they are still being provided with tax cut, and it's always difficult to provide vulnerable people with the kind of benefits they need. But yet still, we are providing loads of money to Ukraine. Now that's what people are saying. Now, who benefits from not really benefit? It's not really benefit. Who takes student loan in this country? More black and brown people. Majority of the people who take who will probably apply for student loan are vulnerable people, black and brown people, or poor people, Caucasian, Chinese, whatever the case, people who are dependent. Okay? And there we go again. This law only. So when the Republicans shut down a law, this law will target who? Black and brown people who usually need financial aid to go to college. So it's again attacking black and brown people because their parents cannot put majority of the black and brown people, they are working hard to put a roof over their heads. So this law again affects the poor, affects the vulnerable in community. We'll be right back after these messages. Thank you for listening to the Neoliberal Round podcast. Those were the views of persons we captured today and yesterday. And we hope that if you have opinions, you can also share them by sending them to us here at The Neoliberal. Visit us at theneoliberal.com or ronaldocmckenzie.com and support us at https://anchor.fm/theneoliberal/support. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie, and have a great evening and a great weekend. And see you soon, probably tomorrow, Sunday, and of course on Monday, when we interview John Anthony Castro. Have a great day.